Hi, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Real Housewives of Moto. This is episode 16, which off the top of my head is Zacho. That's what we're going with. We're going with Zacho. I was at 2017 Vegas, 5 months pregnant, and which I actually talk about in this. And gosh, Zach and Joey just the fact that they train together now. Well, Zach trains Joey is just like blows my mind. So anyhow, how you guys doing? It is an off week this week. I just recorded with Katie and then wanted to share an article that I wrote back in April, right after I had launched Real Housewives of Moto, before I had been reported on Instagram or offended any of you with my comments about Chase's gear pants. I wrote an article about just feeling like I'm not the target demo for the sport and for marketing. And then the more I thought about it, the more I challenged my assumptions on that. I'm very much a written processor, so I feel out my emotions through words, and shared it with a friend, and they were like, "You should really share this with like the whole world." And I'm like, "Well, okay." So I zhuzhed it up a little bit to make it, something more palatable for you guys. But thought it would be something that would be fun to share, and you guys could send me your thoughts on this because I feel like as women in the sport, I have obviously found many of you, many of my romies, and you guys have just been such a delight to just become friends with and talk moto. And many of you have kids that race, and obviously mine do not, but that whole world has just like blown my mind. Amateur motocross is like a completely different sport. So I hope you guys enjoy this. This is called I'm Not the Target Demo, or Am I? As I sit here reflecting on this past weekend's race, I realize with a simple glance around me, I am not the target demo for this sport. My office is on the top floor of a swanky loft-style building surrounded by a team of graphic designers, content strategists, and other marketing minds. My career in marketing seems worlds away from the literal grit and grind of dirt bike racing. I haven't ridden a bike in years. I'm not a gearhead. And unlike Chase Sexton, I can't tell the difference between 1 and 2 millimeters on your forks. Arguably, neither can most of the viewers, but I digress. However, the main reason I'm not the target demo, I'm a woman. Not only a woman, but a mom and a wife who works full-time and has a side hustle, but one who still adores dirt bikes. So while I struggle with trying to connect my girlfriends to this weird niche sport I love, I start to think, maybe I am the group that the industry should be going after. Maybe I am the untapped market. Let's explore this further, shall we? My current love of moto is a sort of born-again adoration. 2 distinct phases bookend my knowledge of the sport. I was born and raised in Tallahassee, Florida, which arguably has become one of the meccas of the sport in the US, and I was keenly aware of dirt bike culture. My dad was hunting buddies with Big Rick Carmichael. Heck, my dad even attended a party thrown for Ricky when he signed with Honda. Later, Ricky purchased a house right down the street from us, and as a high school rower, I know, I pick niche sports. Our actual practice starting line was Ricky's dock on the far side of the pond that we practiced on. So needless to say, I understood that Ricky and this motorcycle-centric sport that he was a part of was a big deal. Also, this is the house that you've seen with the dirt bikes that are mounted on the inside of the front doors. That's the house. I grew up watching X Games, Travis, 2006, period. My brother was deep into the skateboarding culture and filming, but as I focused more and more on my rowing career and then rowing into college, dirt bikes took a back seat. So fast forward to my college years, I'm no longer rowing. That's a long story for another day. And I start dating this guy who, what do you know, has a love of all things two-wheeled. Joke's on me, I married said boy, and now we own a unicycle. So I guess his love of wheels extends there too. He was on the tail end of his motor racing career and was winding down his BMX racing too. Not before having a few major injuries that saw him some time in the hospital, and a few of which still plague him to this day. So I guess you could say I can relate on an infinitesimal scale to how some of these rider wives feel, constantly worrying about when, not if, the next injury will come. Sometime in the middle of the 2011 season, we were coming back from a date night, and my then boyfriend, Tim, said he wanted to watch the race that night. I wish I could tell you anything about what that race was, who won, what stadium it was in, but all I can remember was there was a lot of Ryan talk. Oh, Allie, you're going to hear those names a lot for a long time. And that I was hooked. I knew that motocross was a thing, but this indoor stadium, fast-paced insanity that was also organized into some kind of a race format, what is this? My brain never made the jump from what Ricky did to this, from motocross to supercross. This insane show of talent and speed and cunning, and oh my Lord, these men are beautiful. How did nobody mention this to me? Sorry, Lindsay Dungy. The ESPN, the body issue did nothing to curb my enthusiasm for the men of this sport. I was hooked from that night on. One of the Ryans would go on to win that season. That was Villo. And then one of them would win for the next 5 years. Now I'm going to date myself, but Instagram was just becoming a thing. launching in 2010, but quickly picking up speed. So by the time the 2012 Supercross season was kicking off, I was following every rider who joined. I've always been an avid sports fan, college football being my first love, having been raised at the intersection of the SEC and the ACC. But the advent of social media took my sports obsession to a new level. Suddenly, we had all this additional access to these athletes. Well before the age of Moto Instabangers and high-res video shoot, Instagram didn't even have video functionality back then. These riders and their wives and girlfriends were posting content just like you and me, layering ridiculously overexposed filters on top of selfies, bike pics, and grainy travel photos. The 2012 season, excuse me, I have hiccups. The 2012 season, I attended my very first Supercross race, Arlington, Texas, in Cowboy Stadium. I even have a pic of the Seven Deuce Deuce, no idea who he was at the time, on the Jumbotron in Jerry's World. Since then, we've made every Arlington Supercross each year for 13 years, even when I was pregnant, nursing, and through COVID. Because I had started following all these rider wives, I felt like I knew their lives on a whole nother level. Lindsay Dungy, Matilda Muscan, Brittany Millsaps, Ellie Reed, these were my gladiators. I remember first meeting Lindsay Dungy at Arlington one year and my husband having to literally shove me toward her because I was so nervous to say hello. Of course, she was more than sweet, and we chatted about life in my hometown of Tally, where she and Ryan had lived before moving to Baker's Factory. I remember commenting on one of Matilda's pics, complimenting her pants, and when she actually replied to me saying that they were a TJ Maxx find, I about died. They're just like me, I yelled at work. My coworkers did not understand or share in my enthusiasm. But these women both humanized the sport and took my love of it to the next level. Enter Ellie Reed. Ellie is like the OG Moto wife for me. I want to say that Ellie and Chad were one of the first ones to have kids. I know there were others, but I'm thinking about ones who really truly took the entire family on the road while he raced. Not to mention owning his own race team in there too. Little Tate and tiny Kaya and eventually baby Pace joined them at the races, and I was just in awe of how Ellie could pull all this off. She was fiercely defensive of her man. She was a brilliant race day strategist. She knows her stuff. And here she is pushing a double stroller. I am in awe. Some of my favorite memories of falling in love with Soupy involve these women. I remember when Ryan proposed to Lindsay at Des Nations, her red, white, and blue nails with that fresh bling. I cried telling Tim, Ryan proposed, as I shoved my camera in his face. I remember being at Houston Supercross and watching Ryan win in 2015, clinching the championship a record 3 rounds early. Side note, Imagine Dragons from that season will always be burned into my brain as Ryan's music. I remember watching Chiz and his wife Brittany become parents to baby Haven and later Mila and Dolly after having been together since they were literal infants. Sarcasm, but really they've been together forever. I remember the emotional whiplash of seeing Mariah go from dating Kenny to marrying Cooper and thinking, dang, a girl's got good taste. As more and more Moto marriages produced kids while they continue to race, our sport shifted. Riders were racing later into their careers, well past the fabled age 27, where many previous champions had retired. I sobbed tears of joy when 33-year-old Justin Brayton won Daytona in 2018. His wife, Paige, and I were pregnant with our sons at the same time, and my joy watching her watch her man win, it's the best. Knowing they were navigating the same things I were. Career, newborn life, no sleep, and killing it. It was just beyond inspiring. Around that same time, the stunning and incomparable Brady Bowers was pregnant with her daughter, Maxwell. You know Brady. She's the 6-foot-plus monster energy girl with fabulous blonde hair and legs for days and a tummy that makes me question if she actually had Max in there at all. But still, Brady was married to a writer, and I vividly remember Brady's first post sharing her struggle with postpartum depression. I was deep in the throes of healing from my own postpartum journey, and honestly, Supercross was one of the few things in my life that brought me just pure joy. That 2017 season, we attended Vegas Supercross, which, holy cow, if I picked one race to attend ever in the history of the sport, with my then 5-month prego belly. After giving birth to my first that fall, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to be this weepy mess forever. I'm never going to have a life again. I'll never travel. This crying, milk greedy thing will suck all the life out of me. Postpartum sucks, and it makes you think really crazy things. Side note, I love my kiddos. I love being a mom, and I've since gotten treatment for postpartum depression, and it is my joy to talk about female mental health. So anytime, hit my DMs. We'll talk about it. Meanwhile, here was Brady doing all the things, killing the mom game and the modeling game and being transparent about her mental health. I was in awe. I sent Brady a message just thanking her for sharing her story and how much I appreciated it and how much respect I had for her and her vulnerability. She's always responded and always been a delight. I remember thinking, if Brady can navigate this postpartum thing and this working mom thing and be married to a rider, shoot, I can do my 9 to 5 and heal and enjoy motherhood. Brady continues to be one of my favorite connections I've made in the sport. She's a girl's girl. Fast forward, and the sport is strong in the dad game. We even had an all-dad podium in 2023 with Justin Barsha, wife Amber, and their son Sonny, Ken Roxon, his wife Courtney, and son Griffin, and Cooper Webb, his wife Mariah, and daughter Indy, which, side note, since then, all three of them have had a second kid, and they're still racing. Personally, Tim and I have attended at minimum one race per year. Our kids are starting to understand and be interested in watching, and they know Saturdays are for Supercross. We even went so far as to take our kiddos to the Fort Worth SMX round in 2024. What a disaster that was. We usually treat Moto weekends as our own little getaway, kid-free. Or at least send them home with the grandparents before the night shows. This race, it was a doozy. The heat, y'all. The heat. We visited our buddy Ryan Hughes, who's a mechanic for Pro Circuit Kawasaki, and even in the pits they had for the race teams, they looked like they were melting. They even had a thermometer on the track, which usually houses Indy cars. I don't even know. I don't follow things with four wheels unless it's F1. And at one point, that thermometer read 115 degrees. People were fainting and being hauled out on stretchers. The riders looked miserable. The wives and families, whom I always love seeing, were rightfully in their motorhomes or rigs, keeping safe in the air conditioning. Needless to say, Texas will not be getting another round of SMX in the late summer. Our kids had full-on meltdowns before the final 450 main, and we threw in the towel both on the heat and the whining. It just wasn't worth it. In all of my years going to the races, I've never left early. Not once. I left that race feeling somewhat frustrated. I love this sport. I constantly talk about this sport. I've made real-life friendships through this sport. Shout out to my bat brethren and sisters from Main Event Moto. But dang, being a family fan of the sport was hard. For years, I've tried to convince my girlfriends to follow this sport alongside me, but ultimately their weekends were either too jam-packed or was too hard to follow or too hard to explain. Meanwhile, the surging popularity of Netflix's Drive to Survive docuseries covering the F1 World Championship showed its largest growing demographic was with, wait for it, women 24 to 34. Hey, that's me. Now, why can't I get my mom friends in that same demo to watch my sport? Well, enter Real Housewives of Moto. This has been a dream of mine for literal years. A place to tell stories about the women of the sport, the wives and girlfriends and moms of the industry that bring us so much joy. I launched the Real Housewives of Moto podcast community with the help of some friends in the middle of the 2025 Supercross season. And I've already met so many amazing female fans. We gab about the rider wives we follow and love, the midweek drama, and of course, the actual racing. We text during the races and they religiously follow my ridiculous posts about butt patch placement, riders, kids' race day outfits, and my undying love of Haley Shanley. All of us were brought in by the dirt bikes, but our love of moto has been elevated by the families behind the helmets, the ones making it possible for these men to truly focus on being at the top of their sport. It's my heart to give these women a platform to share their stories, struggles, and wins. I want to know how they juggle racing with kids, how they keep nap times and feeding schedules, how they grocery plan and meal prep for athletes at the highest echelons of physical fitness. I want to know how they navigate fear and anxiety for their men's safety, for surviving the injuries and countless bedside hours that come with the brutality of motocross. I'm fascinated by those who have side hustles on top of their husbands' careers that take them all over the country in a 10-month span. I love watching the baby announcements that line up with a mid-season conception date and off-season due dates. Brilliant, guys. I see you. But most of all, I just want to champion the women supporting their men, doing what they love, helping them achieve their dreams. These are the women I'm in awe of, and they're worth following. Which brings me back to struggling with the thought, I'm not the target demo for this sport. Within the 2,000-ish member Main Event Moto community that I've been a part of for almost a decade, I can count on two hands the number of women I've met. Anytime I engage with the Moto community, be it a Pulp live stream or a Vital MX thread or a YouTube clip, more often than not, I met with a female-centered reply. Some very much nastier than others. It's almost like my opinions aren't valid. I don't know what I'm talking about, or simply shocking that a woman can love the sport that you love too. It's comments like this that make me think we're actually not living in 2025, and I should just shut up and stay in the kitchen. Sarcasm if you're not watching the video. But if this sport, which is half sport, half spectacle, is going to exist in another 100 years, it has to be one simple thing: profitable. It's got to be making money. Somebody's got to make money. Plain and simple. Having spent my entire career in marketing, I realize if it ain't making somebody up the food chain money, it ain't going to last. Now, I won't get on my soapbox about rider pay, health insurance, and how all those ticket sales trickle down or don't trickle down. But I will say this. Everyone has heard the old adage, win on Sunday, sell on Monday. Taken from 1950s NASCAR, it promoted the idea that whatever car won out that weekend should be selling better. For us, it's win on Saturday, sell on Monday, or whatever day you make it to your local dealer. In theory, the winningest manufacturer should be selling more bikes to the consumer, right? We've all seen the dirt bike cutouts of monster athletes at local gas stations and grocery stores. Surely the fastest bike that the professionals ride means I'll win on it too, or at least be the fastest weekend warrior, right? Now, I can't speak to the numbers as a direct reflection of that theory, but I can speak to the shift in the way millennial homes spend money. I solidly fall into the millennial demographic, being born in 1990, and I'm lucky to have survived adulthood and various financial crises with a solid career and decent home buying decisions. My husband and I's salaries are almost equal, and we both take part in budgeting said money. We make joint decisions on large purchases, vacations, and savings plans. Luckily, we both love Moto, and at least one Supercross race is always a line item in our yearly budget. Having said that, we haven't bought a new bike in years. Our lives just aren't in a place where racing or even riding much is possible. We live in the burbs, our kids are still pretty young, and we're still making payments on medical bills from BMX and moto injuries. Dirt bikes are expensive, y'all. Now, I don't speak for the amateur moto world, which, side note, has become some of my absolute favorite moto mom content. I'm looking at you, Kirsten Lewis. For the stage of life and my mom friend group, dirt bikes just aren't an option. We'll come back to that amateur thing in a moment. So if the industry is built on people buying bikes, or at the very least going to the races and buying from these moto adjacent companies, why aren't we marketing to the moms? Take my family as the example. We love moto, but we don't race. We go to races every year, multiple races even, but we're not going to buy another bike anytime soon. I'm a paid subscriber of Moto Media. I buy rider merch, which, oh my gosh, side note, go look at Cameron McAdoo stuff if you've not already. I consume hours of moto content each week, and now I produce it. Yet all the ad plays are focused on men. And I'd argue either single men or men who seemingly have tons of play money to buy stuff with without consulting their wives. Personally, I don't know about that life. Meanwhile, the moms that I do know are heavily involved in how their family runs, where they spend their money, and how they spend their time. Remember what I said about my girlfriends being too busy on the weekends to follow moto? Well, our family knows on Saturdays, we watch dirt bikes. It's part of who we are. So if I'm making the decisions about finances, where to travel, vacation, what sports to play, etc., why not market to me? It seems like an obvious opportunity. Gone are the days of quote unquote stumbling across dirt bike races at the bar or the local wings place. If you want to watch Supercross, you need to A, be a paid subscriber of Peacock, which, hey, we're thankful for. We're not going to talk about the summer of MAV TV. B, you need to search it out and plan to watch it. And C, you need to have a spare 3 hours, give or take, to commit. Even Race Day Live, which I adore. It was the best it's ever been this year. You can't always watch it back if you've missed it because of streaming, and it depends on when they've uploaded it. So even if you wanted to catch up on it before the race, sometimes you can't. We are no longer looking for that proverbial unicorn new customer who stumbles across dirt bikes, falls in love, and instantly finds a dealer and finances a bike at like 25% interest. Woof. They just don't exist. So why not pivot to the demo with the largest buying power since the boomers, millennial families? Make the sport more accessible. Tell the stories of the families. Stop trying to over-explain a Triple Crown and tell me that Austin and Riley Faulkner are racing with a newborn and getting no sleep. Don't even get me started on Makeup to Mud. And let's talk about amateur racing, which is arguably its own sport. These families are double mortgaging the house, buying motorhomes, going on the road, crisscrossing the country, and homeschooling their kids for a shot at making it big. These are the families spending money on bikes, but not the bikes we see on Saturday. Sure, the goal is to make it to the 250s and the 450s, but everyone starts on a 50. There's a half dozen different size bikes in various classes before you even sniff at 250s. Even if dad is dreaming of his kid's first P-dub under the Christmas tree, guess who has to sign off on that purchase? Well, in a healthy marriage, that is. Mama. These families are putting everything on the line to give their kids a chance at something they love. It's the ultimate family sport. Many of the families I follow travel to the races together, and their best friends are moto families from other sides of the country. The odds of making it to a factory position on a 450 team are slimmer than making it to the NFL, but it doesn't dampen the love they have for the sport. So I sit here pondering and writing today with a word of encouragement. Our sport's going to be okay. COVID was weird, but bike sales were up. Supercross was the first major series to come back, and now we have one of the most stacked fields in recent years. We have superstars like Hayden Deegan and Jet Lawrence who will become household names, even transcending our sport. We are on the cusp of exploding. Sometimes we feel like the biggest small sport in the world, but the world needs to know about us. So let's tell the stories that matter. Let's market to the moms, to the families. Let's spend with our time and our viewer hours and show the powers that be that we care about the off-dirt journeys too. There's never been a better time to be a fan of the sport. Every videographer is killing it. Every rider has a vlog. The content game is next level. And if you have a mom friend, send her my way. Tell her about Real Housewives of Moto, because if there's one thing that a woman can do, it's literally anything. And that's it. Hope you guys enjoy this. It's a little bit different from the content that I normally put out, but it just got me thinking. So would love to know what you guys think about this. If you're a mom, or a female fan of the sport, if you're a financial decision maker for your house, what ads you're seeing, because obviously we know streaming, the ads are localized. So would love to know what you guys think about this piece. If you think that this is a missed marketing opportunity, or if this is just, Allie's day job rants overflowing into the microphone. But you know what? I want to do some more thought pieces like this, just because I think that there's so many good things that are happening around motocross right now. And I mean, literally the sport wouldn't exist without women. So let's tell those stories. So hope you guys have a lovely day and you have enjoyed episode 16 of Real Housewives of Moto. I'm not the target demo, or am I?